Welcome on my first step ever. This is a podcast where we bring in people and, most importantly, their unique stories of how they have taken those little steps to actually get to their first steps. So I'm extremely excited welcoming someone
Hmm.
really vibrant, flamboyant. But along with these adjectives, he is a very serious and a very well reputed and certified doctor and nutritionist all the way from India. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Umesh Wadhavani from India. Dr. Umesh Wadhavani is an Oxford
Sure.
qualified nutrition expert. Now, if that really rings a bell, well, stay on with us. He specializes in making simple and sustainable nutrition plans using Ghar ka Khaana, which is your homemade food. Isn't that amazing? And to be honest, I've actually been through the course that he
Yep.
does, and it is really good. He really empowered me to be able to make my own food that is suited to my nutrition, my body. So thank you so much. And well, he comes with
Hmm.
11 years of
My
experience.
pleasure.
He definitely is friendly and approachable, that you will come to know as we go about. And I'm sure you will start liking his personality as well. And he's a big time pop culture fan and a movie buff. And that's what I think it sets the doctor apart. And maybe he relates more to the people of any generation to say so, because that also makes the very important and integral things that he talks about a bit more easier to understand. He's
Hmm.
definitely gone and helped people, over 10,000 people, the clients that he kind of go through with their journey. And he is the best lifestyle coach of the year 2023, awarded by Big FM in India, which is a radio FM, and it is a really amazing radio channel over there. And he has a digital community of over 200K people who have been benefiting from his knowledge, from his practical expertise. So now that we are all in about what he is all about, we are going to learn, how did he come about to be what he is today. Please take us through your childhood days. Who were you growing up around? What kind of a mindset of people were you surrounded with?
It will be really crazy for a lot of people to just know about this because the contrast is so contrasting, for the lack of a better word. I come from a very conservative, lower middle class Sindhi family from Gujarat. So, if you are familiar with these two cultures, they both are very money minded cultures, and they are also known to be very miser. They don't shed money very easily. And but we didn't have enough money to even live any other life. We were like saving a lot. Like my family was financially very tight, and the situation was that, and I grew up in that household. So I used to live with my parents and my uncle and their kids, so it was a joint family. I had 16
Wow,
cousins. Like
that's a
my
lot.
dad had three brothers, all four together they created an army of 16, so nine male cousins and seven female. Okay. And Ishani, you'll be surprised to know that out of all the 16, I was the only one who studied
Wow.
beyond 10th standard. Yeah. So none of, because the education
Okay.
was not given priority at all. The Sindhi culture or the Sindhi community, they came to India, and the first, after the partition, their first challenge was to, survive. And my father's generation was kind of from that generation. My childhood was, there was no exposure to study. My parents
Yes.
were running a grocery store, the kirana store, that my parents had that shop. So I used to go to my dad's shop and help him out. I remember being on the shop selling onion and potatoes and
Amazing.
all at the age of what, 10. Since then I've been helping him. So in my head there was no idea that I would become a doctor and a nutritionist and go to Oxford or study. There was no chance. This is my second life. I always say this. I was born first in 1985, and then my reincarnation happened in 2009. And so that's how my childhood went. So my max aspiration was to open a clothing store for some reason, because
All
I
right.
thought it was cool, because I didn't want to open a
So,
kirana store.
thank you so much, firstly, Dr. Ramesh, for sharing that with us. I think you come from a very humble background. And even to say so,
Hmm.
that two things that I think are
Hmm.
highlight over here for me is, first, that you come from a business background. Let's put it that way. Any kind of business, and especially
Yes.
doing a grocery business in India, is quite a challenge, because there are so many out there. You have really good competition, tough competition, and standing out is something that you really have to push for. So I'm sure that
Hmm.
maybe you might have not realized then, but you must have picked up some skills back then, probably, in that sense. And the second thing, as you mentioned, that
Yep.
out of the amazing 16 team of your cousins that you had, you were the first one to kind of go past 10th standard. And education is so important. So I would like to understand, while you were growing up, let's say in your teens, what was your mindset? Because you were sure that this is not what you have to stick to, and you had a bit of an idea, maybe, clothing line is what you want to do. But what was going on in your head as a growing teen uh, adult at that point in time? Were you facing with some sort of mental dilemma, challenges, or feelings of, maybe I'm not good enough? Because we do kind of feel at that point in time while we are growing up. Or you had a completely different mindset that you were really, eager to kind of show the world or yourself or what you can do next. Please take us through that phase of your life.
To be really honest, I don't even recall what my mindset was in the teenage times, because as I said, there was no reference point to go to in my family. There was no
Mhm.
aspirational person that I would look up to. So I didn't have any mindset. My thing was like, okay, my dad is doing a business. My brother was also doing a business after his 10th standard, or ninth standard, because he couldn't do the 10th. He had to leave and he had to open a pan ka galla, the pan shop, at the age of whatever 15. These were the two people. I was like, I don't want to do this. I want to do something better. That's all I had in my mind at that time growing up. But my mom's elder brother, he is a doctor. He is an MBBS doctor. So my mother used to always tell me that ke tu dukaan nahi kholega, like you won't open up a shop. uh, I want you to become a doctor like your mamu, the maternal uncle. And that's what she used to always tell me.
At that point in
Hmm.
time, I think coming from that kind of background where everyone in your family is so hardworking, at the end of the day you have to earn a living,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
whichever means that is, that is so great that you come from that lineage,
Yep.
that you really value the
Hmm.
work that you're doing for
Hmm.
what you're doing. But i'm
Hmm.
i'm happy to know that your
Hmm.
mother was there to kind of, give you that nudge and kind of that support, oh, maybe this is something that you can, look for.
Hmm.
So that is something that your mother shared with you,
Can do. Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
saw that, and and you were like, I would be
Hmm.
opening a clothing line. What
Hmm.
really got you latched on to the idea of, oh no, maybe I would like to go and try, maybe do MBBS or even study for this?
See, first of all, I didn't do MBBS. I did the lowest form of medicine that you can do in India. We will come there in a bit. But I don't know, maybe it's just now I'm, in a hindsight, I'm analyzing things and I have an answer. I don't think I thought about all these things when I was a teenager. But now I'm thinking that I have been a sort of rebel or going against the herd kind of a person since childhood. So whatever my friends would do, I wouldn't want to do that. If my parents are asking me to do something, I would do something else, and that has continued till now. So whatever my
All
parents
right.
wanted me to do, I haven't done anything as per their wish. Anything. So, like for example, my dad and my parents wanted me to become a doctor and open a clinic after that
All right.
in the same village that they're living in. Didn't do that. They wanted me to get married when I was in my internship, 23 years old. I didn't do that. They wanted me to go to the UK but come back and settle in India. I
Wow.
didn't do that for 11 years. I'm still not married, so they are still kind of iffy about it. Okay, so whatever, and same in medicine as well. So after completing my homeopathy, which I've done my degree in homeopathy. I didn't practice homeopathy because I didn't believe in that science. I didn't practice medicine at all because common homeopathic doctors in India, commonly what they do is they would graduate, they would go to any allopathic or MBBS doctor, they would learn certain medication and certain procedures, and they would start practicing allopathic medicine unethically. And Indian government is completely linear with that. A lot of homeopathic doctors are doing that. It's not ethical, but I didn't want to do that, so I chose not to do all those things. And without knowing what I wanted to do, I started exploring what I options I had after that.
It takes a
Mhm.
lot to kind of
Mhm.
first understand who we are, and then accept who we are, and then, kind of share the
Mhm.
aspect of our own
Mhm.
experiences in a way that people can learn a bit from it if they could.
Mhm.
It's great to see that you were a rebel
Yep.
in the ways that you wanted, probably. But
Mhm.
now that we know that what you're doing, everything has turned out well. But to come to this point, there are many milestones I think you have yet to cross in your story with us today. So from here,
Hmm.
can you kind of take us
Hmm.
through those,
Hmm.
early days of your 20s, or when you started kind of thinking, oh no, probably now I would like to, take that turn, because you did certain kind of, certification in India. What made you, or was there any calling, or there's any
Hmm.
something that moved you, or something that, or it was just like, oh, let me just go to the UK and try my hands on something? What made you choose that path?
It's so funny. A lot of people would be looking for inspiration here, but maybe you will find something to learn here. As soon as I was, I was completing. So, BHMS, the homeopathy course, is a proper
Okay.
degree of 5.5 year, equivalent to MBBS course. The only difference in between these two courses is that the medicine part is different. The rest of the subjects are the same. The duration is the same. We do the same internship in hospitals and all that. So as soon as I finished my 4.5 years, my 1 year internship started, and my parents were like, "Okay, now you are graduated. We should find you a good bride and get you hitched."
This never stops.
And I didn't want to do that. For what reasons? There would be a completely different podcast altogether. And second, they wanted me to open up a clinic, so they started looking for spaces and all that. So before they could make their mental and financial investment on those two things, I was like, मुझे higher education के लिए बाहर जाना है. I want to go to abroad for higher education. And trust me,
Okay.
Ishani, I had no idea where I wanted to go. I didn't even know what UK, US, Australia. I come from a very tiny village in Gujarat, Baba. And I didn't even learn anything in English. Everything that I've studied that has been in Gujarati. So my schooling, higher education, my college, everything has been done in Gujarati. So for me to think about going to a country which is the epitome of the language English, it was a dream, literally a far-fetched idea. But I didn't
That
want
was
to get
your route
married
to
and open a
escape.
clinic. That was
Interesting.
my route to escape.
It's interesting, and you were right.
Yeah.
As in, we don't need to kind of look inspiration every
Hmm.
time, everywhere for a decision. But what's interesting over here is that you never really, bow down to the things which you did not align with. And here we are not really talking about, for our listeners, I want to kind of, you everyone to kind of listen up really very clearly, that it's not
Hmm.
about, going against people, and for the sake of going against your parents or anyone that you're doing this. It is when you actually can't feel that within, that this is something that you can really bring justice to, you know that is when you have to put the foot
Hmm.
down. And I
Hmm.
think that's what I can gauge from your your life journey so far, that you were not aligned with that at all. You knew this is not something that you cannot be honest
Hmm.
yourself if you do that, in many ways. And important
Hmm.
decisions like,
Hmm.
marriage, or
Hmm.
opening a clinic, because everything has to do with lives involved in that, in many ways. And if you are not confident
Yep.
in the sense that this is not the path that you want to take, it is great that, for everyone who's listening to us, if something doesn't really align with you, sit with yourself and ask that what you really want to do, because just doing it for the sake of people, it won't really end up in a really good place. So
So if I can add something here. So and finally now I can, vocalize bhi nahi. I can make sense of all these things. So I have an explanation as to why my life has been like this. One thing I have realized about myself is that I cannot do anything out of obligation. And a lot of human beings across the globe, they are latched on to whatever they are doing, be it a relationship, be it their work, be it their food habits. Everything is being done out of an obligation. I realized it. I'm making sense of it now, but I realized this fact about me at very early age, that if I don't see myself being with one person throughout my life, I don't think I should get married, because eventually it is going to create ruffles. Okay, if I cannot open a clinic and run it, if I can't see myself sitting in a chamber and prescribe unethical medicines to people, that's not me. I cannot do so. Now that is throughout my team knows, my clients knows, that if Umesh wants to do something, he will do it out of will, and he will put 300% of it. But if he doesn't want to do anything, we shouldn't even ask. So now they know the boundary, and I have created that boundary, and I really love it.
So for who for whoever it really resonates with, it relates with, this is an maybe a sign for you. If this is something that doesn't align with you, it's probably best that you rethink about the decisions that you're
Hmm.
taking. But as you heard Dr. Umesh say that he has a team over here, but wait, we haven't yet come to that, part of his story. We are yet to fly to the land of to the UK, to London right now, with that massive
UK.
brave courage that he had, learning a new language, being in a new country, learning something really serious,
Hmm.
because in a way it
Hmm.
is going to impact people's life.
Hmm.
So Dr. Umesh, we are very, very excited to,
Yep.
tie our seat belts and fly to London with you from here on. Please tell us that what was your time in London like? If you can maybe, summarize up if the decision was
Hmm.
right, what was your highlight, what did not go right, and what did you learn out of
Hmm.
it?
I want you all to put yourself in my shoe. Just think about it. You have never had a proper conversation in
Okay.
English with anyone in your entire life of 23 years old. You are going to a land where the English language was actually originated. Although there are a lot of Asians there, you would get support, but you didn't know that fact. So you land at the airport and you feel familiar because all the security staff is still Asian, Indian, Pakistani, or Bangladeshi. But as soon as you go out of the airport, you see the white skin. And I'm not like, trust me when I say this, it's not coming from a racist remark. It's coming from purely a naive Guju Sindhi boy who has never seen white people ever. So I was like, I'm in a dream in a Hollywood movie where there are a lot of white characters around me. That was the first impression I had. But luckily, one of my junior's fiance used to live in the UK, and he, offered to help me for the first month or so to
Nice.
sort of orient me with that culture and the country. So he welcomed me in his house. He had a one room empty, so I stayed there rent free for a month. He taught me certain basic, formalities, that how English people interact with each other. In India we say Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Ram, ya Namaste, ya whatever. So their slang he taught me, and then he was like, Umesh bhai, if you want to learn English now, start watching Hollywood films. Now, until then, the only Hollywood film that I had watched was Titanic for all the wrong reasons, and that too
All
in
right.
Hindi subtitles or Hindi dubbed. Yes, so that was my relationship with Hollywood films. But then he was like, okay, start watching Hollywood films with subtitles so that you will hear the language, and when you will see the letters
Right.
written, your brain will make sense to it. So he was like, I don't know where to start. So he was like, okay, pick one English actor or a Hollywood actor and watch all his films to begin with. So another movie that I had watched was Men in Black in Hindi. So I'm a Hollywood or Bollywood buff, right? So Men in Black in Hindi, it was dubbed by Bollywood artists, mimicry artists. So all the aliens
Okay.
were talking in different Bollywood actors' voice. So that was really funny in my head. So so I remembered Will Smith's role. Now Will Smith has a different persona in our head, but
Yeah.
at that time I freaking loved him. I was like, this guy is so funny. I didn't understand what he said. But so Will Smith came to my mind, and I watched all Will Smith's film. Okay. So that was my
Incredible.
introduction to the language. So initially, 2009 to 2011, I used to talk to people in a African American accent. Yo, man, what's going on? Because that's what my inspiration of English was, and it's so funny to know. But to give you a quick overview, I genuinely want to tell everyone that even if you don't want to live in a different country, I would suggest go and stay there for some time. It can be any country. You should explore some other cultures apart from your own culture, because as I said, I have two lives. Pre 2009 Umesh was a extremist, religious, um
Okay.
sexist. I remember telling my sister that this is a male t-shirt, why the hell are you wearing my t-shirt and going out, and I wouldn't let her talk to guys and all that. um Homophobic. I remember me saying homophobic slurs to a lot of people pre 2009 in Gujarat. But when I explored UK as a culture and met with different nationalities, I came to know about different humans, different cultures, different genders. a sense of empathy came in my mind, and how women are not no different than men. For like, it's so silly even to talk about it at this moment, but pre 2009 Umesh was that. So that is the biggest learning of me living in a different country and exploring different culture and meeting with different people. um so yeah, I think that's that. It makes me very emotional. I'm talking about it and I'm getting really emotional.
It is not
Hmm.
an easy thing to kind of accept, some things, that there's some drawbacks in your way of thinking or the way you used to be, and even more important is to work on it. So, and we are so glad that we have
Yeah.
an example in you today, and for everyone who's watching or listening,
My pleasure.
it's amazing to see that what length someone can go to kind of really do what they want to do, because you had to really learn a language. And I think a
Hmm.
lot of listeners who are here, they definitely are migrants, or a lot of us these days, go to different countries to study,
Hmm.
to stay, to live, or we do understand all these challenges, coming from any sort of the world. Language is such a big barrier, and it was such a fun way to kind of learn the language,
Hmm.
because you have some point of relatability, your likability to get started off with something. And the other aspect that you mentioned, that kind of changed
Hmm.
your mindset, that broadened your mindset about a lot of things. So happy to hear that, and thank you so much, Dr. Umesh, for sharing that so honestly.
My
Thank you. Yeah, and I want to ask
my pleasure.
one question over here. Before we flew into India from here, what was the top three learnings that you had, and why did you migrate back to your home country?
Sure. Top three learnings would be, one of them would be the change of mindset about humans in general. Second is, humans are same. Human emotions are same everywhere. So we differentiate humans or people on the basis of their nationality and their color and their age and their sex, and then different human emotions are same everywhere. Parents are concerned about their kids there as well and here as well. They have better boundaries. We don't. I used to always feel, really pride that, okay, Indian parents are very tight knit with their kids and they don't have to take appointments and da da da. But again, the obligation part. If I have to go back to home Diwali, it's an obligation, because my parents would feel unhappy. Kids abroad, they don't have to feel obligated, because they know if they are meeting once or twice or four times a year, it's out of genuine love. It's not that their dad wouldn't pick up their call if they want to meet in between as well, but they know we are meeting on the Christmas, so there is less of an obligation. And the image that I had, Indian Western culture is different and our culture, no, 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 every culture has some pros and every culture has some cons. We have to be evolved enough to acknowledge both. And if something is wrong with our culture,
So
we
true.
should acknowledge it, address it, and improve on it as well. So these are the two things which were major. And third, I think,
Okay.
my friends used to call me solution boy. And I think that approach came when I went to the UK, because when I went to the UK, I didn't have any financial support. So the fees were
Wow.
around £17,000 for the whole course, and my parents were not in a good financial situation. So my brother arranged £5,000 for me to kickstart my journey, so that I could get a conditional letter and get a visa process done. So I remember going to the UK with £500 in my pocket
Wow.
and nothing else, with no job, no home to stay, and 1 month stay at my friend's fiance's house. That was the only thing I had, and I left India with that. So
That's
I was like,
amazing.
okay, kar lenge kuch. We'll do something. And from there, wherever there was a problem, I wouldn't think about the problem. I'll be like, okay, let's find a solution. Let's find a solution. Let's find. And that's how I spent my 10 years doing so many things without any other support and just
That's
finding
an
solutions on my own. So yeah.
Being by yourself kind of creates a different
Hmm.
world for you. I have that personal experience, I can say that. And then adjusting to
Hmm.
people around you in close physical vicinity, it is very challenging. So yeah, please take us through that journey of yours.
Okay. So pandemic was the actually reason why I stayed, but I was in the UK for a project. So there was this big Bollywood trainer. He used to come to the UK, and I had like I had contact with him. So he was like, Umesh, come down to India. We need people like you. You have a background in mental health, physical health as well. So you can work with celebrities in India. So I took that opportunity and packed my bags and planned to come here. And the thing that happened is that that guy
Okay.
started ghosting me as soon as I landed here. And that thing didn't go ahead. I couldn't go back to the UK because again, I left the UK with a lot of how do I put it? You tell your friends that no, I don't need to live here. I'm going to Bollywood and
Yeah.
I'll work with this star and that star and blah blah blah. And I came back home and my parents were not happy with this decision, and I fought with them as well that you don't understand where your son is going and all that, and I left them. So I couldn't go back to UK because of ego. I couldn't go back to India in my
Mm.
home because of the ego side of it. Yeah, I went through a really bad phase of depression and all that, but then things were just starting to get better, and then the pandemic hit. That made me stay.
The exciting bit is
Hmm.
that how really life takes turns, and a lot happens
Hmm.
in that journey. A lot of ups we have seen, but
Hmm.
we see a lot of
Yeah.
downs as well. You were not in your home country, sorry, not in the home city that you were in, but you were in the other city. You started building your own, this particular practice that you have today. What were the steps behind your first steps that you took to be where you are today?
So as I said, I completed my BHMS from India. Never wanted to practice, so I went to the UK. I did my master's in healthcare management. Still, the nutrition part is not here. I did my healthcare management. So ideally, I would be managing a hospital or a clinic. So as soon as I graduated, there was this psychotherapist in the UK, very popular one. He had a show on BBC called
Ah, okay.
Shopogenic or Shopaholic, BBC. Yeah. So Benjamin Fry, he was setting up a clinic in Oxford, and he wanted a services manager to help him set up the clinic. I was a freshly graduated. He was opening up a clinic. Rab ne mila di jodi, like we were like a perfect match. And the guy hired me. I was like, Umesh, I won't be able to pay you बहुत ज़्यादा, but this is what I need, and I was looking for a job as soon as I graduated. So I was like, okay, it's a good start. So I started managing that clinic. Now, that
Okay.
clinic was a psychotherapy unit. They used to treat all the mental health conditions, manage all the mental
Wow.
health conditions with zero medicines. So they had a whole residential setup. Clients would come, stay there for 3 to 6 months. They had a whole day schedule, two one-to-one therapy sessions, group session, meditation, yoga, nutrition, fitness, da da da. And that excited me. I was like, okay, this is something which I can do. If this people can do it with mental health, I'm sure there is something in the physical health too, which led me to restudy the preventive and social medicine, which I studied in the third year. I was like, okay, let's go back to the books and see if I can. And then my CEO, she used to be in the States, but she used to visit us once a year or twice a year and have a team meeting one to one with everyone. So she was having a chat with me, and she was like, Umesh, you're doing your job amazingly, but we see that you are excited more about fitness and
Yeah.
nutrition and Bollywood, because they know my Bollywood was always out there. So in fact, I got on into fitness
Mhm.
because of this Bollywood actor called
Okay.
Shahid Kapoor from his movie Kamine, and he had really good abs, and I was like, okay, I'll get into it. So she was like, we can't do much about the Bollywood part, but we can train you to become a therapist. We can sponsor your
Incredible.
education to become a nutritionist and fitness trainer, and then you can start working with our clients on these three modalities. And I was like, that's beautiful, done deal. On that day, I was like, okay, but I can't quit this job because I need dough as well, right? So
Mhm.
that clinic was a 24-hour residential clinic, right? So they had a shift for
Okay.
night manager as well. So I chose the night shift. I used to go to study from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., join the clinic at 7 p.m., and leave the clinic 5 a.m. in the morning, go to my gym,
When were
go
you
to the
sleeping?
training. And I did this for 6 to 8 months,
Okay.
4 hours at night, because we were allowed to sleep from 12 midnight to 4 a.m. And if the clients don't have any query, I could sleep until 7 until the next team arrives. So it's not a problem. So I did get a good sleep. Clients were only 12 clients we had to take care of. So
Mm.
mostly the nights were good. Occasionally they would have, but yeah, this was the routine for 6 to 8 months, where I got properly trained in fitness training, nutrition, and psychotherapy. And since then, I've never looked back. But But as you mentioned, the acting part, so 2016-17, so this training, everything happened in 2012, 2013, right? In 2016-17, um, my Bollywood, the
At
the
its
bug
peak.
Bollywood, it was like coming out at its peak. And I want to tell all the youngsters here, I know it may sound some sort of preachy message, but bro or gals, whatever you aspire to be in your childhood, or whatever you want to be at this moment in your life, however difficult it may sound, you have only this life to achieve it, or at least give it a try. I wanted to be on the sets, and I only have this life. So I was like, F everything else. On the weekends from Oxford to London, I would to go to London, and I joined New York Film Academy to learn acting. So Monday to Friday, I would work. Saturday, Sunday, I would be in London and learn acting. And then I started applying for auditions as well. I did some theater. I I featured in O2 mobile and Subway ka ad as well. And if you were to go on Netflix and I'm not going to give out the show's name, but I'm playing a servant as well in one of the Netflix shows. So I've been on the sets. I've been on the sets of Marvel film, Excel Entertainment, a lot of Hollywood film sets. I've been on the sets after this journey. So, but whatever I was doing, everything was calling me back to what I'm doing at the moment. So I tried everything out. I may go back on the sets, but I felt I have fun in front of camera, and I'm still in front of camera. So that's what the matters the most. I can have fun in front of camera anywhere. So maybe like 5 years down the line, where my Simply Wellness is autopilot, I can go back to the films and I can do something. But it's not making me sad that why am I not on the sets?
Living life with no regrets. So I think for everyone who's listening to us
Hmm.
today, you see that what you don't need to sacrifice something that you're doing right now to kind of try something that you really want to do, because it's always trying
Hmm.
is the most important bit of it. Whether you make it, you don't make it, the outcome is not
Yeah.
really for you to care about. If this doesn't sound really okay to you, but I feel this is what I've learned in my life, what you need to care about is the effort that you put in, the intentions that you have, and that has to be 100%. And then what happens to it, it's something that you can't really control. But this is so interesting that you have kept that particular thing in your mind. You went out, you utilize your time to the best sort of capacities, and I'm sure that whatever you did on the weekends, that energized you more to come back to your study, your job that you were doing at that point in time. This is incredible. So we would like to come
100%.
back to India now, as you mentioned, and kind of connect that. Now we can connect the dots
Hmm.
back over here when you are now left alone to begin your another journey in India, which is what you're doing right now. If you can probably summarize that in, I know it's very difficult, but if you can summarize that in like three steps for our listeners to kind of understand that, how did you come about being the nutritionist that you are? I think we already know a bit of it that you're doing right now, and who does it really help? What,
Hmm.
how is it?
Hmm.
I know
Hmm.
it's in India we say it hatke. It's like unique, different. So please tell us about this
Hmm.
hatke
Hmm. Hmm.
nutrition, wellness program that you run in India for so many people.
Sure. So, when I came back to India, the whole depression part happened. Then pandemic hit. I went back to Gujarat from Mumbai. Now, in COVID, the major problem was that there was a lockdown. You couldn't go out. Okay, but my place was in a village. So I couldn't go out of the house and go in the village, but I can always go out of the house and go to the farm behind my village, behind my house in the village. So there was a huge farm with a lake and a khatia, the old school bed in the thingy. So I used to just go for a walk with my dog there. And one odd day, I realized that okay, I can make videos here
Yeah.
because I don't need many equipments. I have a camera. I ordered. I had a mic as well, lapel mic. So I was like, okay, I can create videos. So I started sitting on the side of the lake and started creating videos from there. And I posted on my Instagram. So I had 999 followers at that time when I started creating content in 2020 mid. People started liking my approach. He was like, ये तो दोस्त की तरह बात कर रहा है हमारे साथ. He's talking to us like a friend. And that's where people started asking me, okay, do you provide consultation? I was like, yes, I do. And then there was this fitness academy. They were like, do you want to teach nutrition to our clients? We are running online thing. I was like, yes, why not, I do it. Then I got approached by HRs. They were like, you are talking lovely, can you talk to our team and educate them about nutrition and mental health? I was like, yeah, why not, I can do it. One of my mother runs this satsang for last 25 years. Every morning a few aunties would come to our house and they do satsang every day, the prayers and chanting and all. So those aunties were in my house one day and they were like, okay, your son has come back from the UK, what does he do? And my mom was like, hey, he's a nutritionist, he can fix your health using Ghar ka Khaana. So they were like, they started showing me all the complaints कि मुझे diabetes है, I have this and I have that and I have joint pains, and I was like, let's do this, I'll do the satsang tomorrow.
You literally had the
So you
case
sit
studies
and I'll
around you.
talk. Huh, huh. So
Okay.
next day I did a nutrition satsang with them, and that gave me an idea of doing master classes with communities and thing. So just to brief it out, I do all of this now. So I do individual consultations online, I do corporate sessions, I do community master classes. So basic funda is that I want to interact with as many human beings as I possibly can and tell them nutrition, healthy eating, looking after your health, not a rocket science. You can do it using your Ghar ka Khana. And I do this using all these means.
Dr. Umesh, I like to say that this has been such a unique and a really interesting chat with you today, because I can see that that obviously you have lived your own journey for a while now, and you have tried things, and you have always listened to what you want to do. That is what
Hmm.
aligns with you, and you've been brave, you have taken those decisions, and you have really worked hard. Coming back to now to this point where you again thought of utilizing what you could at that point in time, again being a problem solver, maybe being resourceful as your friends call you, and you started, you're not waiting for people to
Hmm.
come and maybe give you the job. That's what I think I would say to a lot of youngsters out there. If you are looking for your first job, or you're looking maybe for, you're starting your second innings in your life, I think what I would say, do not wait for things to
Hmm.
happen. Create that opportunity for you. And that's exactly what you did. You just took out a camera, you started saying that what you knew about,
Hmm.
and it just spread like wildfire. You had a solution, people had some
Hmm.
problems, and that just met. And such an
Problems,
incredible
yeah.
story, from your early childhood days to where you are today. And I would like to wish you and your team more such success, because what you're doing is really making and creating an impact, and it is em- actually empowering people to take things in their own hands, their nutrition, their diet, everything in their own hands, and busting a lot of myths, which is so important for us. So thank you so much, Dr. Umesh. I
Hmm.
think there is lots in your story to uncover, but I'm more than happy to have you here. And I think we've been able to scratch some really highlights, ups and downs of your story, and there's still more to go. You're a rock solid person with an amazing personality, with such in-depth knowledge, and doing that so wonderfully. Thank you for being on my first step ever.
No, no, thank you so much for having me here. Yeah, it's just so emotional to go through the memory lane.
Yes, and I
And thank you
always
so much for
request my
taking me
guest
through it.
speakers to leave our listeners with a thought or a saying that they really resonate with.
Because I'm doing an evidence based practice, and there is a lot of fear around on the internet. The one statement that resonates a lot with me is that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidences. So anything that you hear on the internet which says that, okay, MSG is going to cause cancer, or microwave is bad for you, or palm oil is this and that, ask them for evidences, because it's an extraordinary claim. If the claim is extraordinary, you need an extraordinary evidence. Otherwise, everything is a theory. You need to work and figure out things for you, because health is very individual and personalized.
Which you can learn a bit more about on Dr. Umesh Wadhavani's own Instagram channel and many more other places. I will leave all the links in the show
Yep.
notes, so do follow him.
Yep.
And I really, really think that you would really love watching whatever he teaches. It's in a really unique way, and there is a lot of important information to look out for. So thank you so much, Dr. Umesh, for being on my first step ever, giving our listeners, whoever is listening to us today, who has stayed with us so far, I know that they have really seen themselves somewhere in some part of your story, maybe rising up, taking those call, or maybe
Hmm.
you're maybe in their in the most difficult situations. They could relate with you somewhere, and so could I in many places. So
Hmm.
thank you so much for taking us through your journey. Would just like to kind of wrap up this episode by telling my listeners that I always say that start believing in yourself and keep believing in yourself.